Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Illuminating Life Official. I am really excited for today's interview with someone that I've come into contact with and have just had a huge amount of respect for everything that she's building and what I'm seeing from her social media. We've been acquainted and in the same network, but we haven't actually had the time to sit down and really talk about what she's doing and where her heart is at with her business and her life in general. And so I want to introduce today Brenda Villafranco, and I am so excited to get to know you a little bit better and to hear more of your story.
Oh, thank you so much. That was such a nice introduction. I honestly, I'm honored to be on here and I'm just grateful for you. Like we aligned together. And like I
Thank
said,
you.
yeah, I didn't, I didn't know you before, Boston. And so it's kind of cool to just kind of see how just things kind of fall into place. And so
Mhm.
here on your podcast, it's just nice.
It is nice. And yeah, I'm so excited for this interview and to find out. So I just saw on social media that you were celebrating your 1 year anniversary in
Yeah,
this. Is that in the entirety of the field, or did you just
yeah.
start building this a year ago? Because I'm about the same time frame.
Actually, what really happened, the
Tell
one
me
year
all of Tell me what really
Yes.
happened.
So what really happened is my 1 year anniversary was September 1st. And I think someone went and randomly searched my name. And the only reason I know that is because when I woke up on my Facebook, I started seeing old pictures of like success stories of the deals I've done in the past that they went and liked 10 of them or something like that. But then they commented on the anniversary one because the only reason I did that post initially was because I kind of was reflecting on my entire year since starting, and I didn't think I did a lot, if I'm being honest. And so once I reflected on it and I wrote down, I was like, oh, I looked back on it and I was like, I actually did quite a few things. And
Mhm.
so once I started lining it up and writing them, I was like, okay, like let me just post about, how my year went and,
Yeah.
what doors open because I always saw that quote in the past. Like, if you literally give yourself 1 year of just taking action and being consistent, you'll look back and be like, wow, I did a lot. And it's so true. Like, you can change the trajectory of your life just by 1 year. And I always think
And
about that because I'm like, so good. Like, 1 year. And people are unwilling to sacrifice that.
I know. Well, and it takes a little bit of belief in yourself, and it
Mhm.
takes putting a little bit of that doubt aside that that can actually be true for you as well, something that is kind of universally true. So, what did that consistency look like? What did the start look like for you? We kind of got started in this field around the same time, and I know that it's been a year of so many ups and downs and so many lessons. And I think it's really great that you went back and looked because I think we forget so many of the successes and the wins that we've had, even if they're learning experiences, we get to count those double, you know? So what did it
Yeah.
look like at the beginning when you decided to kind of bet on yourself for this? What did that Brenda look like? Like what were her thoughts and why did she want to get involved in all of this?
So I ended up purchasing a long-term for rental, like I purchased a property 2 years ago. And after that, I fell into the whole bigger pockets route.
Hmm.
They have apparently several podcasts. One of those podcasts that I started just binging while I was getting ready for work was the Financial Freedom Friday. And I just kept hearing success story after success story. And I was like, I can do something like this.
Yeah.
Like it's very possible.
Mhm.
And it wasn't like I was in need of money per se, but I was like, my parents came from a foreign country. They wanted us to have a better life, and they never had 401k. They never had like a savings, so to speak. So I don't want to say I've always worried about it, but it's always been in the back of my mind as if something were to happen, could I, help them out? Could I? So I always just want like, okay, how can I make that extra income where I'm comfortable enough to say, okay, like they're going through that, sure, I can cover that. Or I
Mm,
can do XYZ, with this family member and so on and so forth.
right.
And it wasn't until Bigger Pockets at that time, Pace Morby was releasing his book. And that's whenever I was like, oh, who is this guy? And so I started following him and he started advertising about his community. And so that's when I like thought about it for a few minutes and I'm like, let me just sign up for this and see, what if it's a good fit for me. So I joined the Zoom call and that's when I was just like, I just felt like, okay, if I don't do this now, I won't do it and the opportunity will pass. And
Yeah.
that's it. I'll just stay. Because in this up until that point of September 2023, I was in my own like healthcare bubble. And so all I knew was healthcare. My background is healthcare. So from the moment I finished college and graduated, it's always been healthcare.
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, this is the opportunity. Then how I weighed my options was, okay, so I lose, some money if I decide that it wasn't worth it. And I can just go on about my life and continue doing what I do, which is healthcare. And so I went ahead and pulled the trigger.
And you
And
were willing to take the risk.
I was willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been a risk taker, to be honest, though. So I will
Really?
say that. Yeah, I've taken risk and whether I lost or like won, like I've always been the type like, oh well, like it didn't happen. It just didn't happen. It just wasn't meant to be. And if it did happen, I'm like, I'm glad I did it.
Hmm.
So
Do it again.
yeah, exactly. Let's do another one.
Yeah.
And so,
So
yeah.
do you feel like that was innately in your character, or is that something you kind of built up to? Because you said you were kind of always a risk taker. What did that look like before? Did you have to talk yourself into anything, I guess, is what because it sounds like the opportunity, you started listening to Bigger Pockets and that thing kind of starts brewing, right? Like, oh, this is more doable than I ever thought. I think that's similar to my story as well of, oh my gosh, how did I not even know this existed kind of thing? But then you took the extra step when you found pace and all these things are coming into your orbit to kind of open this door for you and you recognize it as that opportunity. I can relate to that, but is that something you had to cultivate or is that something like you're saying it was a no-brainer for you?
I would like to say that the moment I purchased that property and Bigger Pockets came, it was like the seed that planted that opportunity to open. And because I believe in that, I believe that things happen for a reason and like God, aligns us when the right time is right. And yeah, I there wasn't like I need to think about this long and hard. Like it was like I'm either gonna lose money and not have it worth it, but I'll make it back, right? With, saving up again, or I'm gonna take the risk and all that can happen is that it's gonna be an amazing opportunity. And so
Right.
usually I think that also too, like, and I don't know how everybody else thinks, but when I think, I always think positively. So whether that risk was a bad risk or not, I'm still going to think as like the outcome's going to be amazing regardless.
And
And
you're
so
going to recover from that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. And I think, within the world of real estate investing specifically, I think you have to have that attitude and knowing that, like seeing that there is always risk involved, but also there's also a recovery from that that's possible, you
Right.
know. And
Mhm.
do you consider yourself to have a pretty good wealth mindset? So you're a risk taker. What are your thoughts kind of on abundance and a wealth mindset?
So I've always been a saver. And at one point I was on the Dave Ramsey train. And
Hmm.
so then I was like,
I was on the train and fell off twice.
so once I did that, I was like, okay, like now I can actually save what I really want to save for. And so
Yeah,
initially I was saving for a house because I was like, I don't want to have payments till I'm like,
right.
I want to be done quickly. And the abundant mindset, I actually hired a coach a year ago, just to work on my mindset, work on that. And it was life-changing for me.
Mm.
Only because it made me realize I'm not dreaming big enough.
Mm.
And so then I was like, wow, I thought I was dreaming big enough, but apparently I'm really not. And I
Right.
think the other important thing too that brought me to that abundance mindset was having clarity of what I truly want. And that really changed the game for me. Like, I
Yeah.
don't just want to live to live. Like, I want to live to be impactful. Whether, whichever way, like, God wants to use me, I still want the outcome to still be impactful.
Yeah.
And so now with the abundance mindset, I've noticed that every day is a day full of opportunities because it really is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's so many avenues to make money, and I've only noticed like when you have a scarcity mindset, that's when
Hmm.
you're like, "Oh, I can't make that much." I'm like, "What do you mean? I
Yeah.
just made like just by solving someone else's problem, I just made money off of it."
Yeah. So you made your impact and your money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I heard a really interesting, somebody was kind of put it this way, where thinking about abundance and thinking about money and, saying that, it might be a cloudy day, right? And there's no sun. You can't see the sun. It's gray. It looks chilly, all that. But up above those clouds, the sun is there. So there is the clouds below, but then above that, there's this abundance of sun that's always there. And just because we can't see it doesn't mean that it's not there doing its thing and available for us, right? And providing a benefit. So it's really funny when I think about that. I think about that a lot, in the because it is kind of an inconsistent with projects and things like that paying out. I don't know what it looks like for your strategy and what you're doing, but for fixing and flipping and things like that, you do have to kind of be a planner and you do have to be very strategic and the saver with your money in order to feel a sense of security because
Yeah,
I think that scarcity comes when you feel insecure, and I know I have felt that. And with gaps in projects or things like that, and you have to keep reminding yourself to move away from that so that doesn't get to be the story, right? So
right.
I think that's really incredible that you hired someone to help you. And do you feel like that you've had a huge transformation this year with that?
I did, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
number one, it increased with being consistent on gratitude. I've
Yeah.
always been grateful, but do I practice it? I
Hmm.
I wasn't. And so from that moment on, like every day I take time to pretty much write down what I'm grateful for and why I'm grateful for it. And it's just having that feeling of there's so many things in life that we truly take for granted, but you
Hmm.
can look around and, I'm grateful that I have a house to live in. Like, I'm grateful that my parents are still alive. There's people that don't have that. So many things to be grateful, whether they're small or big, but there's still a lot of gratitude, like endless gratitude, to be honest, to give. And so he helped me open that up and be able to, in a sense, with clarity, create like what I want my future to be
That's
versus
incredible.
like me just going like day by day and just kind
Hey,
of yeah, through life, I guess.
and the great thing about gratitude, the when we make that a consistent practice and when we're really, you said consistent a couple times, so I want to come back to that, but when we make that a practice, whatever we're looking for, whether it's something to be grateful for or some way to feel like a victim or some way to see scarcity, that our brains are wired for what we continuously look for. So a simple thing like taking a little bit of time. I was just with a client last week and we were talking about this and I said 10 minutes. It'll change your entire, if you do that thing where you're writing it down and it really does shift our brains. And that sounds like the path that you've taken is that you've changed your brain, and that is your brain scans for those things. So the things that
Yes.
the big things that yeah, I could be grateful for a healthy body or a car that works, or I think it changes you to then see the smaller, really beautiful things that God is doing all the time, right?
Yes.
That if you don't have that gratitude mindset, that we could just miss so easily. And I'll be honest, I miss it all the time.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I think that it's such a great reminder anytime. It's one of the most transformative practices, I think. And just from your story too, knowing that you feel like that's had such a huge impact on, I mean, God, that impacts your body and your business and your relationships and
And your emotions, how you feel like
emotion.
internally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
So you
really,
don't wake up and like, no, like I have to wake up and, you know, spend time with God and be
mhm.
grateful for what He has given me. And it
Yeah,
shifts my entire day.
it
And so
does.
I think that's really cool. It whatever challenge comes that day, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah,
I think that's
that's
just
really
like,
good.
yeah,
And do you think that that is a huge component in giving you the ability to feel secure and take risk? Just that
yes.
you know that, okay, it's not going to be the end of the world. This is kind of all a game in a way,
Hmm.
right? So,
Yeah, it's
and
just kind of like detaching myself with money the same way, right?
yeah,
Look at it like, oh my gosh, like I need it if I don't have it. No, it's more like it's just needed for what I need it for to
yeah,
really get to like the big outcome of it.
yeah.
Hmm.
That's really beautiful. So you talked about too getting clarity about what you really wanted and being super clear on that. What did that take for you? Did you, because you seem so diligent and intentional about the things that you do. So when it came to you were challenged with what do you really want? Because I think that, and Pace has said this, a lot of people have no idea what they actually want. Was that an easy path for you, or did you really kind of do a lot of digging this year to really figure out really what that, it sounds like you brought in the you wanted the emotional, you wanted the financial, you wanted the relational and the impact part. Did you kind of take all that into consideration when you were figuring out when you were setting out, okay, this is what I really want this year?
I think what I was really lacking, to be honest, was the details of it.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I want, but I couldn't tell you when he asked me initially, I was like, oh, like I didn't realize I needed to get really down and detailed about this to
Mm,
where like you can feel that, taste that, visualize that, like visualizing me come to, let's just say, my Airbnb house that I've always wanted in like Denver or Florida, like me, how do I want that? And I literally pictured myself coming out of this white modern house, walking down the street, going to the beach at 6 in the morning with my journal to watch the sunrise and be grateful for that. And I was like, that's like a feeling that I would love to wake up to.
yeah.
So then I was like, oh, it really needs to be really detailed. Like, how
Yeah.
would I want my schedule to be where I'm so content and joyful about it that it doesn't even feel like a schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't plan on stopping to work. I still want to work and do what I can to be impactful, but I would love to do it in the way I can do it. And so
Yeah.
being able to create that schedule, like I love Mondays, right? Like I want to be able to say that, like I love Mondays because I'm able to this, and this for the rest of the week and plan out what I need to do versus like, oh, my Monday is controlled by XYZ, right?
And
And
so I'm
so
gonna be ready all day on Sunday. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that clarity, yeah, I had to dig down deep. I'm still digging down deep to be honest,
That's
because
good. Yeah.
yeah, because I've noticed that some things I'm like, "Oh, maybe I didn't want that after all."
Hmm.
And that's okay, right? That's the beauty of life is that every day we're transforming and it's okay to go a different route. And
Yeah.
so,
And that's the good thing about that work, that you get to shift it. And you, when you get one thing that you think you want, then it informs a different thing that you might want. And, and I think that it's really beautiful that your coach had you going into the emotions of it and really feeling the emotions of it, because that also changes our brains to get it in our bodies. Our body doesn't know that's not the truth. I think that's the
right.
beautiful thing about visualization. I feel like as a child, I was such a dreamer. I still really am, but I feel like that it's kind of that daydreaming and it's feeling that thing in your body and your experience. And really, then your body kind of takes ownership and it doesn't know the difference. So your
Yeah.
brain is searching for that journal on the beach in the morning. It's really beautiful that you did kind of break it down that delicately and beautifully.
Mhm.
And it sounds like one thing that you're doing is building your lifestyle,
Right.
and more like it's really funny because you talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and you'll say, "Oh, how are you doing?" And they're like, "Well, I got this deal or I have this client," And it's not about, "Oh gosh, well, I saw the sunrise on the beach." So I really respect that and I love that. I think that's such an important part because I think it would be so easy. I think it's easy and I do it myself sometimes losing ourselves in our work,
Hmm. Hmm.
forgetting about the lifestyle part, forgetting about the experience and what we're the whole reason of what we're really trying to create here. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, definitely. What's funny about that is um when I did that kind of post, because my family for New Year's Eve, we went to Florida thinking it was going to be warmer, and it was actually cold this year. And I went and watched the sunrise a few times while we were there, and it was just absolutely beautiful. And I thought to myself like, wow, like I'd just be happy now just grabbing my coffee. And no one wanted to join me because they were like, "You're going so early," and I'm like, "That's we're actually privileged. Like you get to do this." And
Yeah.
so, anyways, it was really
Such an
nice.
amazing attitude. I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just so that's one of the things I'm continuously working on, just kind of fine tuning it. I'm not
Mhm.
sure. Do you do a vision board?
Oh yeah. A vision board. I have movies. You can do little mind movies. We can talk about that.
Oh man, that's
Actually, let's
cool.
just talk about it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you can take the images from your vision board or, you can get them off of Pinterest or
Mhm.
whatever. I love Pinterest.
Me too.
But you can take those and you can put those into an iMovie, put music to it, and kind of, watch that before you go to bed, like a 3 to 5 minute little movie. And it's all your stuff and it's with the music. So you're feeling that emotion. And so
I
yeah, I
love
think
that.
that the vision thing is so deeply important. And, you know,
So
we're
I
able to have that. So
Yeah, so I did a vision board 4 or 5 years ago, and I bought the board, I did it, I put everything I wanted, and come to find out it was a total fail. And because it wasn't number one, it wasn't near where I could see it every day.
mm,
So that was like the first thing I noticed. And then second, I didn't really write down to be detailed like how I would get that. And so then I was like, I was just looking at pictures, and it wasn't daily. It was just whenever I would walk by it, which was not near. And so
yeah,
then I was like, man, what a fail. But this year I did a vision board and I made sure to like be intentional about it. So I did like business, family, um, work, and traveling. And I have another one more, just nurturing relationships. That was I said this year, the relationships that I built last year, I want to actually nurture them this year
I
and
love it.
continue on nurturing those. And so what's so crazy is that I put this vision board on my iPhone lock screen. And so it just takes turns. There's like a total of like 15 pictures.
Hmm.
Well, out of those 15 pictures, there's like five different people on there that I would like to just nurture those relationships. And
Mm,
ever since January 1st, like I've literally each one of those people I've talked to, not just once, but like I've done deals with. And it's just so cool to kind of just see that coming to fruition.
That's incredible. And it is really funny just having that in your brain, or I think that's really smart that you put it on your phone. I saw somebody they put their vision board in the back of the shower. And I thought, that's
That's a
really
new one.
brilliant.
Yeah.
I think they had it laminated or something and they put it in the back of their shower so they would see it when they were, kind of pondered as they're showering. But yeah, to have it front and center, I think that you're already seeing the impact of that. So
Yeah.
what are you feeling? I mean, gosh, it's so early in the game and you're already nurturing these relationships. Like what changes are you seeing any changes in yourself or in, is it just going deeper and deeper with them?
I think it's just going deeper and deeper with them. Like I would love to be able to not just do deals with them, but maybe even in the future have some partnerships with them.
Oh, that's amazing.
Just because like their values align with mine. And so I know some people can go into like a partnership and not really know the person, and then the partnership ends up going separate ways, right? Because you didn't take the time to get to know them.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I would like to do is just be able to nurture it where I'm like, you know what? If I ever decided to purchase a business, I would love to purchase it with this person because they align with me. I know them, I know their character, their integrity, so on and so forth.
Yeah. And you're learning how they do business.
Yeah. No,
So that's a
definitely.
really, that is a really valuable thing because you're right. I've heard it said that ending a partnership is like a divorce.
Hmm.
I mean, and think about all the liability and all the risks that we know about that we talked about. And then you're taking that on for a second person as well, not knowing how they would handle hard things, right?
Yeah,
So I think
absolutely.
that's really smart. You're so strategic and intentional.
Yeah, I think intention is like the key, right? But intention
It is.
takes a lot of effort, which
Yeah,
which is why I can see why the average person doesn't do that, right? But if they only did that, I mean, they would literally be able to go further than what they ever imagined.
well, and that's what we were talking about earlier when you mentioned a couple times consistency,
Hmm.
consistency, intention, and sometimes it's not the really sexy stuff. Sometimes it's just doing the day-to-day stuff that needs to be done to stay consistent and to build
Hmm.
that life. And it's not until you look back until a year later that you go, "Oh, wow, look
Yeah.
what I did,"
Look what I did. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. And you look back and you're like, okay, I really could I do even more than this? Absolutely. It's totally
absolutely.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
you've got all the right pieces in place. It's incredible.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
what are your bigger goals for this year then? Like kind of catapulting off of what you've done. Where do you think you're headed with your business and personally, or what are some of the bigger items for you this year?
Bigger items is I would like to travel more and still go to like different outside of the community. Like I want to venture out into different communities, different networking events just to see how I'm able to build relationships
Yeah,
and even help some of my solid borrowers, capital raise. I think that's not something I was looking for, but apparently because I've built relationships with people, um, I have borrowers that come to me and say, "Hey, like if I can't fund it because my funds are tied up, then they're usually like, I know you know people or you have really good relationships." And it really makes a difference. So I always tell people like,
everything.
yeah, yeah, definitely building relationships is so key. And then
Hmm.
it doesn't feel like you're coming to someone and saying like, "Hey, I have a deal for you, XYZ," and it doesn't seem so like out of tune.
Yeah,
Instead, they know the kind of person I am, and they talk to me. They
right.
gotten to know me, and so they know like, "Hey, you know, I wouldn't connect someone if I didn't think they weren't a good person or if I didn't think they did a good job." And
Yeah,
I usually don't connect anyone, to be honest, to someone I haven't done any kind of deals with in the past.
yeah. Yeah, that relationship is really important for just the trust.
Hmm. Hmm.
You
Yeah, no,
do for
definitely.
money and yeah,
And like I feel like my name's important. Like I wouldn't want anyone to ever think. you know, I've worked so hard, even in healthcare. Like, my reputation is my name as well too. So I have a
Yeah.
leadership role there, and so I wouldn't ever want to make my name and everything I've worked for just
Yeah.
disappear because of a
See
bad
someone
decision
suffer
or
over that. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, you are incredible, my dear. I'm so glad that we got to do this.
Yeah, likewise.
Is there anything that you would like to add?
If anyone's ever on the fence, just do it. Like, that's it. It, whether it was good or bad, like, you got to experience it, and no one can take that away from you.
I think that's beautiful. And you're modeling that, so that's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Well, thank you for being with me, and thank you for joining on Illuminating Life Official for this episode. I am so grateful to know Brenda, and what a leader and a great example for this industry, and what a great marker of the type of person that you would want to be working with and doing a deal with. So, thank you, Brenda, for your time today. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.